The developing story is Iran. This has been the scene over the weekend in Tehran. Street protests turning violent at times. Those protesting the fact that Ahmadinejad is still in power has claimed victory in this presidential race. He spoke to the press this morning indicating that this was a free and fair election, and also was rather belligerent, saying anybody who would attack Iran would come to deeply regret it. Is Mahmoud Ahmadinejad the winner of this election as you see it?
Well, you know, we don't have all the details. It sure looks like the way they're suppressing speech, the way they're suppressing crowds, the way in which people are being treated, that there's some real doubt about that. I don't think we're in a position to say. It was surprising that the assertion was he won by, what, 60-some% of the vote. And so I think we have to wait and see, but it didn't seem on its face to be as clear-cut as.
Well, what specifically is the administration doing to find out what you need to find out?
Well, we're doing what every other country is doing. We're doing everything we can in our power with folks that are on the ground, with the press that's left. I know it's being kicked out. Actually going back and taking a look. For example, 70% of the vote comes out of the city. That's not Ahmadinejad's strong place. The idea he could get, 68 or whatever % of the vote, and in a circumstance like that seems unlikely.
He says it's free and fair. You sound like you have doubts.
Well, I have doubts, but we're going to withhold comment until we have a thorough review of the whole process and how they reacted in the aftermath.
A couple of years ago, you said the following about Ahmadinejad when you were on the campaign trail. Ahmadinejad, the madman, is in competition with mullahs and ayatollahs who think he's overstepped his bounds. Biden called him, quote, that wacko guy, the crazy president, and said he would only be in office for a little more than a year before being taken out because he threatened Shia interests. He's proved to be more durable than that, hasn't he?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I think because it appears as though the Supreme Leader has decided the alternatives aren't as useful. But again, this is, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. We have to see what the results were. We have to have an analysis of it, and that'll be being done by not just us, by every country in the world, and we can make a better judgment then.
You don't want to recognize him as the president of Iran at this stage?
Well, I'm not. Look, that's what they're announcing. We have to accept that for the time being. But there's an awful lot of question about how this election was run, and we'll see. I mean, we're just waiting to see. We don't have enough facts to make a firm judgment.
Even without those facts, the question is whether the belligerence we're seeing from Ahmadinejad is a sign that he is emboldened, that this regime is emboldened, or is it in some way it weakened? How do you see it?
Well, the question is it for domestic consumption or is it for foreign consumption? It's obvious he has some problems right now. Let's assume he won the election fair and square. He still has some problems at home. And so it seems as though it's hard to say where it's directed. It could just as easily be directed at his domestic critics, and they are real. And they exist.
But this administration went out of its way. The president sent a message directly to the Iranian people. The president made the speech in Cairo, reframing the relationship with the Muslim world. And yet this is the response from the Iranian people, or is it? Do you think Iran is a democracy?
No, that's the question. Is this the response? Is this the accurate response we're getting? Is this the result of the Iranian people's wishes? The hope is that the Iranian people, all their votes have been counted. They've been counted fairly. But look, we just don't know enough, David. It's been less than 24 hours since the polls have closed.
Who runs Iran's nuclear program?
Well, look, this is a regime. It's not a single person. The Supreme Leader is, by all accounts, the Supreme Leader. And so I doubt whether there's anything that can be done without, of consequence, without the Supreme Leader's sanctioning it.
If these results are borne out, if Ahmadinejad remains in power, this administration has said it's willing to engage with Iran. How do you go about doing that?
Look, talks with Iran are not a reward for good behavior. They're only a consequence if the president makes the judgment it's in the best interest of the United States of America, our national security interest, to talk with the Iranian regime. Our interests are the same before the election as after the election, and that is we want them to cease and desist from seeking a nuclear weapon and having one in his possession, and secondly, to stop supporting terrorists. That's why we've joined with the so-called P5+1. We've laid out to the Iranian regime what it is that we, the P5+1, are prepared to talk about. And look, and if there are talks, we are, it's something that is going to be done with a regime. It's not being done with a single person.
But it sounds conditional. You've waited this long in office, 6 months before any level of engagement. Now you're still saying if a decision is made. What causes the decision to go forward?
Look, the decision has been made to talk. We have put the P5+1 have laid on the table a proposal to the Iranians saying we are ready to talk. And we've indicated we'll fully participate in that. We're ready to participate. We're ready to talk.
But what's the message? What's the bottom line? Is this president going to be the one who allows Iran to go nuclear, or is he the president who stopped it?
He's going to be the president that stopped it, God willing. We are not going to allow Iran to go nuclear any more than the rest of the world is going to allow it to go nuclear.